time of Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley right up to the time of Hendrix and Zeppelin, right? Which was a 15-year run in that time. Everybody, the bands and every guitar player studied the blues real hard. Because in Bo Diddley and Elvis Presley's time, there was no other music. There was no rock and roll yet. And they based the rock and roll on the blues, as we all know. But during that time, it was, oh, thank you, Mary. Anyway, you don't hear that now, you know? I mean, if you didn't get there and really work, and first you had to start with Robert Johnson, and you had to listen to John Lee Hooker and Elmore James and Howlin' Wolf, and then up to Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry. And if you didn't educate yourself in that as a guitarist, I feel you really can't play rock guitar properly. You really can't do it, because that's the bottom of it, you know? John Lennon said that if you're going to play rock and roll, you have to study the blues, you know? I mean, if Jimi Hendrix wanted to make just a straight, solid blues record, besides his rock stuff, that would have been the end, you know? And I always look at Led Zeppelin and I think, Led Zeppelin reminds me of Robert Johnson with a band. It's like a band version of Robert Johnson. I don't know why.
Well, I think you strip a lot of the stuff that covers it up and you strip it down to its fundamentals. It is.
Keith Richards, who knows a little bit about the blues and rock and roll, had a statement that he said that was really, really there. He said, every song you hear, even the most watered down song you can find, you know, maybe he's talking about pop music of the time. If you water it down deep in there, somewhere there's blues. Mm-hmm. Even if you're listening to Leslie Gore or you're listening to, you know, somebody, a contemporary artist of that time. He said, if you go, and then he also said, if you go back far enough in time, all the way back 3,000 years ago, the first song was probably a blues song.
Probably was. I mean, there's something, what is it about the 1, 4, 5 that resonates with people? Because it's interesting to me. We broadcast to places that have microtonal scales, nothing like our musical tradition. Nothing, forget slavery and the tradition that led to the blues and all the hardship that created it. People who've experienced none of that, but there's something about that 1, 4, 5 structure that ignites people.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you this. Jesse, I'll tell you this. It wasn't so much we were attracted to it. That's all there was.
Okay.
You know, before people like Wes Montgomery came in and Miles Davis, who advanced and evolved to a more, I don't want to say sophisticated music, for lack of other words. That's all there was. And another thing is, it's not complicated to play. It's difficult, but it's not complicated. You know what I'm saying? So that might have been the attraction. That was what it was to me, because I was listening. Listen, the stuff I grew up in was Dylan, the Beatles, you know, Hendrix. This is some of the greatest rock music. I said, my God, I'll never get there. You know, the things that the Who. Look what Townsend's done with a guitar. You know what I'm saying? I said, that's what was happening. And then once I started listening to blues, I said, hey. I said, hey, I could do that. If I get good enough at it, maybe I can open up for Elvin Bishop. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it works. I said, this is something I can do. Nobody's going to ever do what Jeff Beck does on the guitar, you know. So I said, well, what can you do? Let's put it this way, Jesse. If you can't play like Willie Mays, you bunt.
Right.
So I said, well, what can you do? I said, well, I can do this. Keep at it, and if you get good enough, you might be able to make a living at it.
We all had teachers who were teachers in the sense that we knew them formally, but I've often thought that we have inadvertent teachers too. There are people who taught us who didn't know they were teaching us, and we didn't know they were teaching us. But looking back, they did. Who were those people for you?
All of them. You know, I'm fond of saying I'll never play like Jeff Beck or Neil Young or Clapton or any of those guys or Elvin Bishop. I said I'll never play like, but I had this sense I went to the right school. I went to the same school they did. They graduated with honors. I squeaked by with a C+, but I did go to the right school. And so I listened to everybody. My style evolved more closer to a Bo Diddley or a John Lee Hooker. It's one chord, you know. But those two guys can do more with one chord than a lot of people can do with a dozen chords. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And the Mississippi Hill Country tradition, R.L. Burnside and those guys often, would have 15-minute one-chord songs like John Lee Hooker's Boogies, and yet they created a lot.
It worked. You never got tired of or bored. One of our most treasured idols that plays music that can hamper on one chord when he's getting is James Brown. I mean, he could he'd get an arrangement, then he'd get something, and then pulpitate on top of that.
Right.
You know, and so the Brothers Rap, which is a great song, it rarely changes key, but it keeps going. And I had people tease me in high school, saying, "Oh man," while they were listening to Sgt. Pepper's, I was listening to Bo Diddley's 16 all-time greatest hits. And he said, "Oh man, you're not going to go anywhere with that one-chord crap." You know, music was getting more sophisticated in the mid to late 60s. A lot of great music, but I couldn't play it. And they said, "Well, you're not going to go anywhere with that." And I started thinking, this is 2025. Who Do You Love is still on the radio, and Bourbon, Scotch, and Beer. Granted, it's our version of it, but that style of it is still working.
It is. And so when you do something like Bad to the Bone, and I think of, at the same time, I can't help but think of Muddy Waters' Mannish Boy.
Yeah.
What is it about that sets people on fire? Because it clearly does, and it does all over the world. You've played all over the world to different audiences. What is it about that ignites people?
Well, to begin with, when I was putting the song together, I had Muddy Waters in mind, totally. I wrote it for Muddy Waters. I wanted him to do that song. I thought it would be perfect for him. I mean, Muddy Waters. It's Muddy Waters, so you can't get away from it. So, and I always liked exotic lyrics, the kind that Bo Diddley, Jumpin' Jack Flash. I like those kind of exotic, tongue-in-cheek, bad boy type. I was born in the crossfire. I mean, that grabs them. But I took the song and we sent it to Muddy Waters. Man, we got a terrible reaction from his manager.
What year was this?
1982. 81, 82, about that time. And he said, and the retort was, they were offended because he said, Muddy Waters will never record a blues song written by a white guy. And I thought, if Eric Clapton had written that song for Muddy Waters or Keith Richards, they would have recorded it in the next 10 minutes. But I'm a nobody from Delaware, And so I said, "Oh, that really hurt me." I said, "This isn't George Thorogood. This is for Muddy Waters." I mean, and so then I pushed the song to Bo Diddley, who liked it. He wanted to do it, but he didn't have a record deal at the time. So yours truly ended up doing it. So, process of elimination.
Yeah, look at where it's taken you.
Elvis Presley was not alive at the time, or I would have taken it to him.
Yeah. You just got in a great award or commendation yesterday from Bo Diddley's family, didn't you?
Mm.
Ah, what's that? I can't see it, but it looks like Bo Diddley.
It's a button they presented to all the members of the band as people from his family.
What an honor that was, huh? That must have been a moving experience.
I'll give you a Bo Diddley story. I met Bo Diddley for the first time, I think, in '79. And I knew him over the years and called him on the phone. We did Live Aid together. Mm. We did festivals together. We knew each other, all right? And we were doing a festival, a blues festival in California. And we had a relatively new tour manager. And she was from Great Britain, and she said, who is this Bo Diddley bloke anyway? Now remember, I know the guy, and I said, Bo Diddley is this, that, he's the greatest. He said, and I'm very calm about it. And remember, I've known him for 20 years, and I'm standing next to the bandstand, I'm saying, well, Bo Diddley is the originator. Chuck Berry invented rock and roll. Bo Diddley invented rock. I mean, listen to the middle of Magic Carpet Ride.
Yeah.
Listen to Magic Bus. Listen to Sympathy for the Devil. I said, Bo Diddley created rock, so I'm kind of educating her, and I'm kind of casual about it. Now check this out. You ready for this? I'm standing there talking, and Bo Diddley walks up on the stage, and I go, "Hi, Tim! Ah, it's Bo Diddley!" I said, the rush was still there. You know what I mean? Even though I knew him, as a man and all that, but that rush for me, just seeing him walk by, still didn't leave me. She looked at me and she thought I was having an epileptic fit. And I said, yeah, but it's Bo Diddley. The guy made a whole career out of it.
Right.
Fantastic.
Well, and people say we're going to play this with a Bo Diddley beat. I mean, that's everyone knows what that is.
Yeah.
There's something about that stuff, though, like I said, that really sets people off, and that beat is one of them. You hear that beat start, even just with the rhythm section.
Yeah.
Forget guitar or sax or voice.
I know.
People stand up, right?
I know. It's crazy. I mean, that rhythm rivals or maybe elapses even the opening lick to Johnny Be Good as soon as people hear it. But as soon as that Bo Diddley rhythm hits when you're in a band, take it from me. Yeah. I mean, we were doing a lot of stuff, and then one day we got on stage, let's try this. Dance floor was packed. And it's still packed.
Yeah, right. It hits people today.
It does.
And the thing that surprised me when we started getting feedback from places like Bhutan and Nepal and places like that, it hits them the same way. And I thought it was because of the tradition you and I grew up with, that this is why it affected us. But there's something very universal about that, very primal.
Yeah, it's that rhythm that gets them, that rhythm. And dare I say it, I know that I was playing a gig not too long ago, 3 or 4 nights ago. And we got into our thing, and as soon as we hit that Bo Diddley thing, people got up and danced. And I'm gonna tell you something. All of them were children, not older than 9 or 10 years old.
Okay, so they had no history with it.
They just reacted, And I said, so who says this stuff is out of date? I always think this, and I'm not talking about myself, but I said, anything that's great is gonna last.
Mm. Yeah. Well, there's something very enduring about that. And the fact that it came out of where it came from, these were not people who went to conservatories. They're not people who had formal musical educations.
Bo Diddley, on the other hand, will surprise you. He was a concert violinist at one time.
I didn't realize.
And his voice, he studied listening to opera. He can really get his voice up there. Like that. He can really belt it. So his background, his training was a little more, I don't want to say sophisticated, but a little bit more advanced than people give him credit for. And we were in a trailer together, and I said, I don't know why they keep asking me to play at these blues festivals. And Bo was with me, and he said, I said, I can't play the blues. And he went, neither can I. And then he said something that blew me. He said, but I'm a rhythm mother for you. And boy, is he.
Yeah.
So that's why Bo did what he did, because his idol was Howling Wolf and Muddy Waters. That's what he wanted to do. But it just didn't happen that way. And I said, well, you know, my idols were in blues were Elvin Bishop and John Hammond. You know, I said, I can't do that. And then Jeff, our drummer, says, what can you do? And I said, how about this? Bo Diddley stop, baby, diamond ring. If that diamond ring don't shine. You get the picture.
Yeah.
I said, well, that I can do. And Jeff said, then do it. I said, okay, you got it.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting path. When you take those guys, they affected you at an early age. This is something that you knew you could do. Do you have a different perspective on them, you know, having done this for decades, played in front of audiences around the world? Do you see that music differently, or what they taught you differently?
Not really. When it hit me, the blues hit me, I was just crazy about John Lee Hooker, Elmore James, and Robert Johnson. And I started listening to Jimmy Reed. I mean, it was like something that I didn't take control of it. It took control of me. And that really quite hasn't left me that much. And it was always, to me, the blues, the blues, the blues. And once we did our first two records, we started, like most bands, evolving into some. The Stones were originally a blues band. I mean, originally Elvis was singing blues.
Right.
And then as you go on, you kind of, you know, hopefully evolve into, you know, ZZ Top or
Right.
Led Zeppelin. Those are the roots. But those things in you they will never leave. You know, it might not be as intense because I was very young then. It was very new to me anyway, and it was very exciting. I still can feel that in a way. Remember, I was all alone playing the guitar in my basement. Well, my parents' basement, really. And now we've evolved into a regular working band. So my mind is on a lot of other things. So I will now and again sit down and say, B.B. King once said before he went on, he had tapes by Blind Lemon Jefferson, I think Robert Johnson. He said he would listen to it so he could get back to that groove, so he wouldn't lose that groove, you know, in his soul. So
Yeah.
I said, no, that's pretty heavy.
That is. And,
You know.
and he listened to Charlie Christian and all these other people that, you know, people don't, until they look into the Mixolydian mode or whatever, they don't understand what that effect had on him. But, I mean, we're affected by a variety of influences in our life.
Well, if you look at people like, say, Robert Johnson, he was doing a style that was very much in vogue at that time. He was just better at it than anybody. We always say Jimi Hendrix is our Robert Johnson. You know what I mean? Bo Diddley's thing is completely unique. I mean, you can't pin it down to anything. Chuck Berry took Jimmy Reed's rhythm and he speeded it up. I caught the rolling off the rider sitting down by the rhythm review. You know, he got that pump going. Bo's thing is like, there's nothing in the world like it.
No.
You know? But it was probably some of his passion taken from the blues to begin with. And that's what makes him so incredibly unique, you know. And some of those people, Elmore James, again, Elmore James was Robert Johnson with an electric guitar. Okay, that's how he reminded me of, you know. He just took it, plugged it into the amp, and zipped it up, you know.
Right.
Because after all, Robert Johnson did Dust My Blues before Elmore. And it's funny because Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, when they first heard Brian Jones, what was he playing? dust my broom.
Yeah, right.
See what I'm saying? It's like it's like Frank Zappa said to me, rest in peace. He said, "It's a disease, George, and a innocuous disease, but incurable."
Yeah, once it gets into your soul.
That's it.
And I sense, in talking to some of the older blues guys and talking people like John Primer, who grew up as a son of a sharecropper, with a piece of piano wire strung between two nails on the barn, using a can as a slide and stuff. It was all very primal, and it was part of their lives.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they had an instrument, but they had this drive to play this music and to create these sounds.
Yeah.
And that was the way they could replicate it.
Jimi Hendrix's stepfather, would come into Jimmy's room and find the room was a mess because there was straws all over the room from a broom. Hendrix had never owned a guitar. He was practicing his moves before he played the guitar.
Yeah.
I was that way. I made my own guitar in shop class, just like those people did, and put some wire on it and, stood in front of the mirror pretending I was Jeff Beck, or Brian Jones, and before I could get the genuine article.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and you know more about this than me, tracing one's back, that piece of stick with one string on it that people played in the Mississippi Delta before they could get a guitar, like you said, it was called a diddley bow.
Right.
And I said, wow. And then another theory is that Bo Diddley got that name from when he moved to Chicago. Bo was, he was very shy. He was sensitive about his weight. And there was these little girls on the block who used to tease him. So Bo tried to always act tough. And they said, "You're nothing but a Bo Diddley." And supposedly in Chicago, Bo Diddley meant you were a bully. And he listened to that. And then he sat and listened to the girls going like this: patty cake, baker's man. Patty cake, baker's man. He just listened and Bo Diddley, patty cake. It was a little girls thing. They're playing jump rope.
Right.
In like 1950, doing that. So Bo got behind that. Pure genius.
Yeah, there's something that snapped and he was able to do it. In terms
the kids showed the way.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like those kids the other night I told you about.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, they're going to take this to a new level themselves, probably.
Right. They don't care who wrote it or where it comes from. They just know they dig it.
Yeah. And a lot of it was repetitive. Another good friend of mine, Bob Margolin, who played with Muddy for a long time, and I guess he opened for you a couple of times. Bob Margolin.
Great guitar player.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. He said, none of this is new.
None of it's what?
None of this is new. What Muddy played was played before him, and what people playing Muddy play is playing the same stuff. And he said, you go back and you examine the lyrics of some of these songs, it's often repetition of the lyrics in different combinations, but a lot of the same thematic stuff that you see repeated over and over again. And we're playing with the same blocks, we're arranging them differently.
Chuck Berry once had a statement. He said, "There is nothing new under the sun."
Yeah. Right.
When Chuck Berry speaks, I listen.
Yeah. Right.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
And I did this in an interview once, and the guy who I was interviewing me, he didn't give me the answer I was looking for. I said, if you take every human being on the planet, at least one time in their life, what is the one emotion every human being has experienced? And he said, love. And I went, wait a minute. People can go their whole lifetime without love.
Yeah,
you're way off. And he said, what do you say? I said, the one thing that everybody can relate to that has in their life from the time they're born is pain. Everybody knows something about pain. The first thing the doctor does is smack you on the ass and you start crying. So that's the one thing we all know. And he was thinking, well, no. I said, no, like Howling Wolf said, I know people. He said, I know people living in the ghetto who are happier than billionaires because they have pain in their life, and it doesn't have to be physical pain, emotional pain, which is the worst pain. If you have physical pain, you can always go to a doctor.
Right.
You have emotional pain, and that's where music comes in.
That is. I was going to ask you. You've led me right to it. Do you think pain is a necessary component to making music and to creating music? You might be able to replicate it without it, but can you really create? Can you really put that feeling into it if you don't have pain behind it?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. Creativity and genius comes from all places. I would say it helps. You know what I mean? The one thing, when I saw the films of Janis Joplin performing, although it was at Monterey Pop and some other things I saw later in her career, just films, I never saw her live. What I realized right away, I said, this is a person who has experienced pain. Even when she was doing up-tempo songs, the way she cut loose, her whole passion of what she did, I said, this is something that's emerging.
Right. It's driven by something within.
Yeah, it's there. Even if she doesn't recognize it, I did, And there's that in a lot of things. If you see them and say, well, there's that in a lot of things. Look, there's that in novels when people write books. You read books and you say, this is a person who has suffered in some way and wrote this brilliant book or whatever, Tale of Two Cities or whatever you pick up. I don't say that's necessary, but if it's there, I don't know if Janis was using that, but she was using it, whether she was aware of it or not.
Yeah. I think it drives us to create. And drives artists, visual art, same thing. I think a lot of people paint or write poetry because of pain. It's a great motivator. And then channeling it, the blues, at least as I've started to appreciate it over time, is the triumph over adversity. It's taking you up and beyond that. It's not commiserating it or rolling in it as much as celebrating. And people think blues music is all sad. Well, hardly the case.
Yeah.
A lot of it's very celebratory, and it's joyousness born out of pain, and most fundamentally out of the experience of slaves and people who worked in ways that you and I will never know.
Well, I will think that way back then when there were no musical instruments, I would say next to the drum, the first music instrument was probably the voice. Like you said, in slavery. And that was their release. That was their, get that out. Living in horrible conditions. And to have that, and people would listen, and you really belled it out because they were in pain. That was what was bringing it out of them. And now that goes way, way back. I wasn't there, but I've had my share of pain. We all have, in one way or another. But that's where music in general was created. All music was created. Even if people come up to me and say, what is the greatest blues song ever? And I said, the greatest blues song I've ever heard is the song Yesterday. And they go, well, that's not blues, that's the Beatles. I said, no, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Here is a young man singing out of pain of the loss of his mother, that he watched her die of breast cancer when he was only 14. That is the greatest blues. I mean, you can't get bluesier than that.
No.
And when he says it, and then when we got wind of what Sir Paul was saying, I rank that as there's even a bit of sadness in probably the greatest song ever, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. She's looking to get out. She says, somewhere over the rainbow there's happiness. You know what I'm saying? Which she wasn't experiencing then, So those two songs to me are top of the list. A boy singing about the death of his mother, What's more painful than that?
Right.
You know?
And a lot of opera contains many of these same
Oh, yeah,
elements, too.
absolutely.
It's there.
Old Man River.
Right.
Which everybody knows.
Right.
You know? And there's a person under stress, under a lot of pain, and a lot of anxiety. And the release is the voice. That's getting it out there, you know? Some people, it's the guitar. You know, they let it rip. I once asked Jeff Beck how he does what he does. He shrugged and he said, "Beats me." He just does it.
Wow. Yeah. Speaking of Jeff Beck and technique, there's so much focus on what people do on the fretboard. I don't think enough people pay attention to the right hand. And that's pretty distinctive for you. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, both hands are important. If you want to catch a ground ball, there's only one Ozzie Smith. Okay?
Right.
You do need both hands. I have to go along with Keith Richards' theory on guitar playing. I know I keep going back to those people, but he said the most underrated guitar style is rhythm guitar, because that's the body. That's like the middle class. It's like the middle of your body. You know what I'm saying?
It's the
because all
core.
the flash goes on top of it. The rhythm guitar is like a second drummer. You know what I'm saying? And John Lennon once said, they said, "What about your guitar playing?" He said, "Well, I don't play much lead, but I can drive a band." Of course he can. I mean, very few people can do what Chuck Berry, John Fogerty can do. Play great rhythm and great lead guitar. But Keith Richards was saying it's the rhythm guitar. There's no solos in Jumpin' Jack Flash. That's the greatest rock and roll song of all time.
Right.
You know, and it just keeps going and going and going. Brian Jones just keep pumping that rhythm, you know. And I said, well, they did their homework. They listened to Bo Diddley, you know, because I believe in that, you know. There are great acts that didn't have a rhythm guitar in the middle of it. But I heard what Keith Richards was saying. He was saying it's underrated.
Yeah. Well, and John Lennon, I think, played lead on Get Back, and that's about it in terms of recorded John Lennon lead guitar playing.
Well, Paul McCartney played the lead on Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
You know, those guys could do anything. They don't count.
Yeah.
They're in a different world. We don't even bring them into the conversation, okay? They're out there. But there's a lot to be learned from them. Because the great rhythm guitars of the Everly Brothers, I can hear the Beatles listening to that. Now, the Everly Brothers must have heard it somewhere, and they probably heard it from Bo Diddley, who heard it from Muddy Waters, who heard it from Robert Johnson. You see what I'm saying? And I am a mere pawn in the game with this thing, you know?
I think all great musicians recognize that.
Yeah.
It's arrogant to think that anyone has invented anything. It came from somewhere.
Yeah.
But what you do is you bring it forward and you bring this history to people today. And so you're playing to audiences now music that you played half a century ago, that was played decades
half
before.
a century before that.
Right, exactly. So how is that relevant to people today in the world of TikTok and the music that we have today?
I have no idea. Probably because, you know, Tom Petty, rest in peace, passed away. All right. So did Willie DeVille. So did Jay Giles, the guitarist. As far as a roots established rock act, we're probably the last people doing that. And there's probably a reaction to that, especially people who are our age, you know, who feel that when the Destroyers play, that we get that going. And I'm not one to say I don't want to educate people on this thing, man. I just want to play it and dig it. And if I can find someone who digs it, great. If I can find someone who digs it, who pays money to hear it,
even better.
And you got something.
Yeah. How does it feel? I mean, you've been out on the road for a long time. I know people, some people who can't do it for physical or other reasons, or not popular enough. I know other people who do it and continue to do it and hate it, but get out there and are professionals and do a show. You seem to really enjoy it. Is that true? Or is it getting old?
I can see just by sitting in this room that you and your wife still dig each other. And time just adds to that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying if it's bothering you and you hate it, then stop. Or why did you record the song to begin with?
Right.
If you didn't do it to share it with people. But that's just George talking. Not everybody's like, we got to write a hit record for triple platinum. Mm-hmm. And then they're stuck with it for the rest of their life. Okay? Well, we never really approached it like that. We said, no, I want to do stuff that we dig and for people who also dig it, for what we're doing. And we're very fortunate to get that with our audiences, But the real kick is when you see the real young people. I mean young. To you and me, 30's young, okay?
Yeah.
I'm talking real young.
I'm surprised because a lot of the folks I know are playing to audiences no younger than 50, but you're telling me you got 9-year-olds dancing.
Yeah, they're jumping all over the place, man.
Yeah.
I said, oh, this is really cool. And it's great because their parents brought them because they'll be so tired when they get home, they'll go to sleep right away. They don't have to deal with, I don't have to deal with the kid.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, this plants a seed. That plants a seed just the way the stuff our parents played. My father played Oscar Peterson and my mother played Odetta. That imprinted on me in a very strong way. Yeah.
Well, you got a big break there.
Yeah, but those things last, and these parents bringing people to hear you, this is music that's going to resonate with them.
Well, like we said before, anything that's good is going to last. Mm-hmm. When did they invent Coca-Cola? When did they invent Ford? When did they invent Chevy? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's still here. You turn on the TV, the Three Stooges are still on the TV.
Right.
So anything that's good that captures the people's imagination or is practical, like the Cars, it's going to last.
Yeah. What kind of music do you like to listen to when you're on your own just listening, no one else around? I'm
really kind of hooked. I'm hooked on Alice Gomez. I like to listen to her. Mm-hmm. She's got some great music, a great Native American type music with a little bit of Hispanic thing in it. I found that very fascinating. I listen to all sorts of various things. It breaks my heart that Amy Winehouse left us. Mind boggles on where she could have taken it. You know what I'm saying? I listen to her. I check her stuff. There's a passion there, and there's something else there that Amy has. Pain. Mm-hmm. Her biggest hit, Back to Black. Her lover is leaving her. Right. And I said that's the only flaw in the movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Mm. At the very end, when Elizabeth gets stiffed, that's the song they should have played. Mm. They take it out. That was perfect. The look on her face. She's got black clothes, and Daniel Craig and Robin are laughing and giggling and holding. She's just broken hearted. She's devastated, So she'll fade back to black. So if I was the producer, I said, hey, that song goes in it right there. Because that's the thing you can't hide from. And I feel that when I first heard Amy Winehouse plays, it fractured me the same way Robert Johnson did. I'm not kidding you. When I first heard Robert Johnson and Elmore James, it floored me. And when I heard this person's music, I said, oh my God, somebody's got to get around this girl and protect her. She's in a lot of pain. Mm. Maybe she parties or does this, but like Janis Joplin. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. At least that's how I interpreted it. Not everybody's the same.
Sure.
Thank God not everybody's like me.
Some of these older recordings, too, you listen to Robert Johnson, you listen to some early things. The quality of the sound, obviously, is nowhere near what you can get today. But it impresses me, or you listen to Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, one of my all-time favorites. The quality of the recording is not great, but the power of the music is so strong that it doesn't matter. I don't even recognize the lack of sonic characteristics because the power of that just comes right through.
Have you ever seen the footage of in the 60s of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech?
Sure.
Well, it's black and white, not very good black and white either, but the passion comes through. The statement comes through. You get past the technology of it. Because
Right.
we all grow up, most people, not me, but most people grow up with color TV, color, all those things.
Sure.
But if something is that strong, it will punch through.
Right. That's certainly the way I feel about it. When you play to audiences, how much of their reaction factors in to your show? I know some people who just put on the same show and they could be doing it in front of a blank wall or in front of cheering people, but
How much does the reaction of the
Yeah,
audience contribute to it?
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it, yeah.
You know, two people make love. You want them screaming and yelling, yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you're after.
Right,
You know,
right.
that's the whole point of doing it.
Right.
You know, so I said, well, let's see if we can get this audience going. You know, see if they react to what we do. Well, that's the whole point of doing it. You know, is for that reason, to share that emotion and joy with the audience. They're the sixth member of the band.
Right. Right.
I'm sure you've heard this from a lot of other people, a lot of other bands. So that's not a when you get it. Mick Jagger said something great once. He said when he first started performing, he felt the music so strong. He started wiggling all over the place and clapping his hands and doing all this because the music was moving him. And then he said, and I could see people reacting to it, that they liked it. He said, if they threw tomatoes at me, I would have stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But they dug it. you know?
Right.
So he dug it.
Right.
You know what? He just kept,
Yeah. Snowballing and more
right,
and more.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
When you kiss somebody, you want to get kissed back.
Absolutely. So has your performance evolved over the years in terms of the way you interact with the audience, or has it been pretty constant?
It's evolved in a different way than when we first, the three of us got into the bar. People reacted, got up and danced. It moved them. So it's evolved in a different kind of way. But it's still there. I said, I want people to react to what we're doing. I don't want to. John Lennon, rest in peace, said about the Beatles. He said, people don't come to hear the Beatles anymore. They just come to see the Beatles. And I just said, I want a reaction. I'm not talking about a guy's got to get up and pour a beer over his head or some lady's
Yeah.
got to jump up and go topless. That's not what I'm talking about. You can see if it's getting them. You can see, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
And I go to see a lot of bands, a lot of big time bands, and there's nothing going on. They just run through their hits, and everybody can, I said, man, that ain't it, man. You know, you got to get them up and going.
Right.
You see, they lose something that they're feeling, and that's what gets me going. I said, we got one person on the dance floor. It's good enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also it differentiates it from watching it on TV. So much that we've seen people watching stuff on their phones now. If it's live, there should be some interaction.
Exactly. Or why play live?
That's what
Well,
makes
then why
it real.
do it?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. This neuropsychologist I interviewed said that we release oxytocin and other chemicals when we listen to music we like. That's why when you go to a concert with someone you're friends with, you may be better friends afterwards, or you may fall in love or whatever, because we have this chemical release, and even though we're hearing slightly different things, we're appreciating it together, and there's something chemical that happens with people.
I have to agree with that. There's something there that stirs it up. And it might be just hiding and waiting.
Yeah.
And it has to be that thing. I mean, let's face it. When you're stuck in traffic, do you watch a movie? No.
No.
Do you read a book? No.
Nope.
Do you play cards?
No.
Or roll dice? What do you do?
Listen to the radio.
That's right. That's right. And someone will say, I'm having a bad day at the bank, or my boyfriend's treating me bad, or my girlfriend's treating me bad. My marriage isn't going well. And then they'll add this, yeah, but I heard Rockin' Me Baby by Steve Miller today. And that gets them through the day.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about that. Could you play?
When was the last time when Jumpin' Jack Flash came on the radio and you turned the volume down?
Yeah, never, never,
Never. That's
never,
right.
Never. Could you play a few things for us?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I could try.
Okay, a try is good enough.
Okay. Well,
I didn't get the right slide. I brought some slides, but
Oh,
none of
wait a
them are the
minute.
one you
it's
use.
the same kind Muddy Waters use copper.
Yeah.
Yeah, same kind he use. Well, I ain't no Ry Cooder or John Hammond, but I'll do the best I can. I am a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for day. I am a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for day. Keep everything in the barnyard, upset in every way. Dogs begin to barking, hounds begin to howl. Dogs begin to barking, hounds begin to howl. Look out for my little red rooster. Red rooster's on the prowl. If you see my little red rooster, please drive him home. If you see my little red rooster, please drive him home. Ain't had no peace in the barnyard since my little red rooster been gone. Well, I ain't Howling Wolf, but hey, you know,
Hey.
who is?
Yeah, but you know what? This is what keeps Howlin' Wolf alive.
Well,
Playing it live and giving that feeling to people of what it was like to listen to Wolf.
well, you asked for it. You asked me to play.
I asked you to play. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's your show, baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Can you play something else? Maybe
okay.
I'm pushing it here.
I probably could do that. All right. But I just can't be satisfied. I can't keep on crying. Well, I never can be satisfied now. I can't keep on crying. Well, I know my pretty little baby, she gonna jump and shout. That old train rolled in, I come walking out. I got trouble and a worried mind. Well, I never can be satisfied now. I can't keep from crying.
This is what keeps these people alive, huh?
You know what keeps it alive?
What?
After I played that song, the only woman in the room started applauding. I know what the hell I'm doing.
Oh, man, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. What do you think the future holds for this music? You're keeping it alive now. Is there another generation that's going to play it?
There may be. There may be. Anything's possible. I don't really look at it as me keeping it alive. I was kind of that way in the beginning, being a blues crusader and all that, like the Stones were when they started, and John Mayall and the Butterfield Blues Band, John Hammond. As time has gone on, I said, all right, I've done my part. I want to have fun. I made people aware of Hound Dog Taylor, according to others. I thought the whole world knew who he was. I didn't know that it was like about a 5% of people in the world who knew about this kind of music that I play, or played at that time, or was trying to play. Now I've gotten to the point where I said, hey, I did it. Now it's George time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how's that transition to Georgetown taken shape over the years? Was that something that just came to you one day, or is this something that you just evolved in?
Excuse me. Well, it's kind of like the people I work with too. Our staff that we work with, and not prodding me over the year, pushing us, George. You got people turned on. People aren't going to forget bourbon, scotch, and beer. Yeah, you've got the. Why don't you play for George? Why don't you go out there and enjoy? Not be so. Are they going to dig it? Are they going to dig it? Well, that comes from my background when we started. I didn't get a standing ovation at the age of 19. Okay, so as time has gone on, it's taken me a while to say, when you get, although you want to play for the audience, that's what number one. But say, well, there's no reason why you can't be, saying, well, you've worked hard for this. You're not getting any younger. Go out there and enjoy. You're not going to blow it now. If you were going to blow it, you would have blown it by now.
Right. And you got people coming to hear you who love you already, so
they do.
They're there for that.
Are any of them women?
Yeah, some might be. Yeah,
might be.
Oh
yeah, then I'll keep playing.
Okay, good. Well, this is great. I appreciate you spending the time with us. I don't want to drag you on too long.
That's our pleasure, believe me.
Yeah.